Ishmael and Esau have quite a bit in common with each other. Each of them starts off with great expectations, and their great expectations turn in each case into great disappointments. They are the older brothers in an age when it really meant something to be the oldest son. The eldest was entitled to a double portion, which meant if there were only two brothers in total, that the eldest took the lot. We might think in Genesis 25, it isn't just Ishmael and Esau that come out feeling distinctly miffed. Think of all those other sons of Abraham's concubines, all of them getting sent away from the family home. But in truth, the sons of concubines didn't quite have the same levels of expectations in life. A generous gift from their father attached to a one-way ticket out of the area amounted to a very reasonable settlement in their case. Abraham was doing more for them than they were entitled to expect, no doubt with the aim of securing their future goodwill towards Isaac and his descendants. But Ishmael's mother, Hagar, had been given to Abraham by her mistress Sarah as a kind of surrogate mother. So Ishmael would have thought of himself as the rightful heir. But then, of course, Isaac comes along. Ishmael is displaced. Even geographically, he's being kind of displaced here. We read in 25:11 that Isaac is living in Beer Lahai Roi, and that's the place where the angel of the Lord found the pregnant Hagar as she was running away from her mistress. It's where she was told, "I will so increase your descendants that they will be too numerous to count, as well as you are now with child and you will have a son. You shall name him Ishmael, for the Lord has heard of your misery. He will be a wild donkey of a man. His hand against everyone and everyone's hand against him, and he will live in hostility towards all his brothers." Well, in chapter 25 and verse 18, we do indeed hear that Ishmael's descendants live in hostility toward all their brothers, but we also hear that Isaac is now in Beer Lahai Roi. It's easy to feel sympathy with Ishmael and Esau. In both cases, they suffer the consequences that result from the people of God not entirely acting like the people of God. In Ishmael's case, Sarah and Abraham trying to fulfill God's promise for him by any available means. In Esau's case, sneaky Jacob exploiting his brother's weaknesses to the full. In that sense, they are hard done by. And they also have a great deal in common with a lot of people that we meet today, don't we? Who have come across the church acting not much like the church. And as a result, they have a very difficult relationship with the people of God. It's not the whole story here, though. If all we ask is, what did Abraham and Sarah do to Ishmael and what did Rebekah and Jacob do to Esau, we will likely miss the point. It's not what does it say about Abraham or Sarah or Rebekah or Jacob that these older brothers get robbed of their inheritance. The question is, what does it say about God? Don't forget that he could have fulfilled his promise to Abraham simply and straightforwardly with a nice quick pregnancy for Sarah, long before they came up with the surrogate mum idea. And here in chapter 25, he could have answered Isaac's prayer by Rebekah becoming pregnant with just the one baby. He doesn't do it this way. So what does this say about him? I think it says that we have a God who chooses to make a people for himself using not the heirs but the spares, the low and the despised instead of the privileged and the entitled. A God who chooses that the last will be first and the first will be last. This is not at all popular amongst those who were at the head of the queue when God turned up. Think why the Jewish leaders hated Jesus so. Well, you would, wouldn't you? In their shoes? If you'd invested heavily in becoming a great teacher of the law, or if you'd been brought up to expect to be somebody in the temple, and all of a sudden there is this itinerant preacher and these stinking fishermen and prostitutes sitting in your place, you'd resent it. In fact, grace is bitterly resented. There's nothing more resentful than grace when you grow up thinking you shouldn't need it. Didn't Jesus write that into one of those stories of his? Anyway, if you have been, you know the rest.